this is CeeCee, and as we are nearing the end of this year, I've decided to kind of work on my unfinished projects, so I'm going to try and do as many as I can before the end of the year. This is a page I have in my watercolor Strathmore journal, and this is a swatch of a color burst. This was the Violet Color Burst by Ken Oliver, and it had kind of exploded on me, so I let it air dry, and I thought one day I'll get to it and I'll finish it. The one thing that I want to share with you is how you have to be careful when you add the pigment, because if you put too much, you can actually get those black spots. They're dark and also kind of reflective. So I urge you to be on the cautious side when you play with these pigments. They're quite potent. So anyways, this was done like a while back, and I'm seeing a flower here, but I don't want to leave the background white. So what I'm going to do before I start doodling in the flower, I'm going to add some more color around it. So here I'm going to put some pinks, and I want to be careful not to disturb any of these, any of what's already down on the paper, because I quite like the way they turned out. So I'm just going to add first the water to where I want the pink to go, and I'm going to take the Nuance Hot Pink, which is probably my favorite. Let me zoom in because it's quite spectacular when you sprinkle the color in. I've noticed I have a tendency to put way too much water, but here it goes. I'm going to add just a little bit or more of pink. And wherever there's water, that pink is going to travel. Okay. And you can also use your brush to disperse the pink, to move it around. I don't know if disperse is a proper term. I'm going to walk it into the violet, but not too much. Okay, this one is going in, so I'm going to dab. If you get too much water in one area, use a paper towel to dab it. Okay, and I think I'm actually going to add the yellow right now. So I have here, this is probably the golden yellow, yeah. And that's going to create probably an orange. Maybe put a little bit of that pigment in here. That's a very bright background. I'm not sure that I like it this bright at this point. Yeah, I think I'm going to remove some of that really bright color. I think I want something a little bit more subdued. So by dabbing it with the paper towel, it kind of gives it a little bit of muted effect, which is okay. All right, it's going to look totally different once I add the doodling, but I just wanted to put some color down before I actually start doodling. Okay, so down here, I'm going to add a little bit of green, because I'll add some semblance of leaves. Off camera. So essentially what I'm doing right now is just blocking off some colors. I'm trying not to have that green walk into the violet because I'm not sure. I've never really tested out Ken Oliver's color bursts permanency. I don't know if they are permanent or not, so I'm not taking any chances. I don't want to create brown. Okay. I'm going to remove that harsh line right here. There. Before this dries, I'm going to add a darker green. This is Jade. Ooh, that's really dark. It's got, ooh, I like that. It's got blue undertones. It's got some, well, of course, it's jade. So, so it's a mixture of blue and green. Yeah, you know what? I'm almost certain that the color bursts are not permanent. Well, maybe they are. They might be. They might be. Okay, so I'm gonna let that air dry. I don't want to disturb it too much. Then I'll do some sketching. Okay, this is dry, and for some reason something prevents me from playing with this. I think it's the sheer size of the flower and the way it is actually shaped, kind of like in the corner. But I'm just gonna go with the flow because that's how I roll. I know I want some leaves here. I want some kind of something protruding from here. I'll leave that for the end. For now, I'm just gonna have fun tracing the flower. Alright, I have a confession to make. I stopped the recording while I was doodling this because I didn't like where it was going. Because I was trying to treat it as a thing. It had to resemble something. But I'm pretty much given up on this idea. I'm just going to doodle, and I'm going to attack each section at a time. Kind of giving it my own spin, not really trying to make it a flower because it's kind of like how I feel right now. Like I want to do this page because it's been in my book for so long and I really want to work on it, but I was trying to take it to places where I think it didn't want it to be. I think this one is going to be total abstract doodling. I think I'm going to work in small clusters and see what I come up with. I don't know. As you can tell, I'm like totally clueless right now as to what direction this page should be going. Just as an FYI, I'm using a very simple gel pen. This is a Sarasa from Zebra, and it's a 0.7 tip. It's a push pen. Very cheap. I bought this like for I don't know how much, and but it works so well on this type of paper and regular paper. I love it. It just glides. Anyways, let's just see what I end up with. I'm gonna zoom in, and I'm probably gonna mute myself because I have a feeling this is gonna take a long time, and I'm just going to breathe, relax, and start doodling and see where it goes. That's the best I can do. Sorry for the long rambling and explanation, but yeah. So that was quite fun to do. Lots of tiny details. As you can see, I added a bit of colored pencil to make some of the areas lighter. I figured that would be the best way to do it because the purple is such a dark color. So I was able to lighten up some of the areas. Now I have this crazy idea to cover it all up. No, I'm just kidding. So here's what I'm going to do, and the idea came to me as I was doodling. This is very intricate and it doesn't represent anything, and that's just fine. Now I want to make some trees. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw up, let's see here. Okay, so the first, I'm using, by the way, a Faber-Castell black brush pen. This is India ink, and I want the main big tree right here. So this is a thicker tip, of course, it's brush. So it's going to show up more against all of that. I'm not done. This is just one of the steps that I'm going for. And then I'm going to make, so this is the main tree. And then I'm going to make another one kind of sort of behind this one. Shaped differently. This one is slimmer. I know it's hard to tell, but stick with me. I have a plan. Now I have a plan. And then I'm going to make a third one here that goes off the page, starting here and going all the way down to here. Like so. Maybe I'll do two more, but on a different plane. Sort of like in the background, because I want that to show as well. Okay, so this is going to be my other horizon line, or maybe like kind of like a mountain line, I guess. And another tiny one right here. All right, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know it's difficult to see. Now here's what I'm going to do. And this is when it gets crazy, but I'm determined. I'm going to do it. I have another Faber-Castell. This is the F-tip. And I will take a ruler. Okay, let me zoom in. This is really totally crazy. Totally off the wall. And that's not for the faint at heart, okay? Because if you don't like detail work, already this page is not for you. Let's try with the S-tip first, because that's like super tiny. Extremely tiny. I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to go at a diagonal like this. I'm trying to see if I can show you the whole page in one go. Maybe I'll use this angle. Yeah. And I'm going to fill all of the areas between the trees with diagonal lines. Oh my God, am I crazy? I think so. And I'm gonna put them super close to each other. Oh, I forgot an area. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. I'm gonna put them super close to each other. So here's what I'm hoping is going to happen, is that because they're so close to each other, they're still going to cover up the background, but still show a little bit of the design. Okay, see, I goofed off here. Hold on. Let me correct that. I don't think I can do it. I know what I can do later. I can just fill this in with something else. Okay, so now I'm thinking that this is too fine. I'm going to switch to the F tip. Oh boy. I don't know why I get into these things, but you know what? You gotta experiment. Okay, so I think this will show up better. Yeah. Okay. I think the beginning will be a little difficult, but I think I'll be able to manage. Let me just do a few, and that way I'll be able to show you what I mean. All right, so I'm not sure what, if you see what's going on. I've thickened up the lines here, and I can actually see better in the viewfinder of my camera than I can see here because of the poor lighting that I have here. It's okay for the camera, but for me, it's really, really dark. The room is almost dark. I know, it's weird. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of like using the lines to mask or to push all the doodling outside of the trees in the background so that the trees are popping. And now I see that the angle of my lines are not exactly the same here, so I need to work on this section first, but it's kind of tough for me to see where to skip. So I'll probably have to do this off camera, but excuse me, you know what I'm doing. You know, I'm just essentially doing some thin lines going across, skipping the trees or the insides of the trees, like so. And so that eventually, because of the thickness of the lines, the background will kind of totally be pushed to the background. The background will be pushed to the background. How's that? Okay. Let me just continue this off camera. That took a lot longer than I thought it would, but I had fun. Okay, I'm going to take my gel pen now and I'm going to darken some of the areas inside the trees. Pieces like these, they're never actually finished. It depends on how much time you have to devote to it. That's basically it. It's quite late in the evening now, just because I've been having so much fun with this. See how it pops, but I could keep on going, seriously. I think I'm going to continue this all the way down. So essentially at the beginning what I did was I kind of followed the lines created by the watercolors. My doodle lines are essentially just that, following each and every color, almost. Then I colored in some of the areas that needed coloring. So it's kind of, you're not really in charge of what's happening on the page right up until the very end when you add the actual design of the trees. That's the only thing that you can actually control. The rest is really not up to you. Which makes it fun. It makes it interesting. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the black, a fine line bottle with some carbon black fluid, carbon black. Well, there's a thick line right there. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie to you, this is a day later. Last night while I was working on this, it was way too dark because of the lighting system that I currently have. So I had to stop. And what it allowed me to do today is actually go back in and refine some of the areas because I was able to see exactly what I had missed. Now, the paint is dry now, the outline is totally dry. And let me zoom in so that I can show you what it looks like from up close. So this is what it looks like from up close. I'll show you different parts, but there's a lot to say about this piece. It's totally therapeutic because I totally zone out. I'm right in the moment when I'm doing this. And also, while I'm doing this, I'm kind of making up stories about what the lines represent and, you know, the different parts. Like, for instance, the one here below could be like under the ocean with the algae going up. And then here were rock formations underneath the seabed, all kinds of things like that. It was just like a lot of fun. And the other thing too, that I want to talk about is how this piece is empowering to me anyways. So here's my theory. While I'm doing this, of course, I totally zone out. I don't think about anything else because there's repetition, but there's also the fact that you're looking for tiny areas to embellish. So totally in the moment, I tune out all of the negative vibes around me and, you know, all the stuff that a normal person goes through. But what I absolutely especially like is the fact that you can't really make any mistake, and when you do, you actually work around this, and I find this is very empowering. So let me demonstrate what I mean by that. So I'm gonna go, when you're doodling, first of all, of course you're gonna go off course, you know, like it's totally impossible to stay within the lines. But let's just say that I'm working on this tiny little piece and it looks like a heart, and that's how I meant it to be. But let's say that I'm refining that line and whoops, I'm going off the line. You're too far. Oh, too close. Just right. Okay. So here I've gone, you know, like I've left a space there. It's fine if you leave that in, but if you don't like it, just fatten up the line, right? Or better yet, so let's say I'm doing this, I'm going around the flower and whoa, I make a boo-boo here. Well, all of a sudden this becomes a dot. So I'm going to take my paint pen and I'm just going to add another dot right there. So in that sense, and for that specific reason, I find this very empowering. And also there's a big sense of accomplishment in finishing a piece like this because it's quite big. I'm going to show you the different parts before I sign off. And I made sure that from one tree to the next, I didn't really follow the same color scheme, because originally this was one doodle, like these kind of like weird pods. But I made sure that from one tree to the next, there wasn't a color continuation, just to make them more distinct. And this one too. As you can see, I have like kind of like rock formations or whatever they're called. They're a different color from one side to the other. I like this part here. It reminds me of a night scene. And kind of like, you know what this looks like? This looks like a place that I've been to. I forget the name of the island, but it's off the coast of Maui, and we went snorkeling there. And this is kind of like the crater formation that we took the boat to. So we were right here snorkeling. And I know it's close to Turtle Town, but I don't remember the name of the island. But my underwater scene. Every piece has a history. Like not history, but every spot has a story. This is kind of like a peacock feather. And this part here. These two, I'm not sure what they look like. Nothing, just fun. And this one reminds me of a map with the oceans and stuff, like kind of like the coast of something or somewhere. So that's it. So I've thoroughly enjoyed this experience. I want to give this piece a name, but I'm not sure what to call it. But you know, art journaling, yes, can be super quick, or it could be very involving like this piece, and why not? This is what art journaling is about. It's about, this is how I view it anyways, it's about experimenting, it's about trying new things, whether they're fast, quick, easy, complicated, it doesn't matter. It's my journal, and I can do whatever I want in it. I hope this video was interesting for you. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. And I will see you later. Bye! Horizontal line that's in the middle, so I'm trying to push it down a little bit. Sorry, you can't really see that well, right? And again, adding water very slowly because I don't want to dull anything down. Oh, that